So tonight, our speakers are Carolyn Todd-Larsen and Donna Hom. Hom, is that how you say that? Um, Carolyn, even as a child, Carolyn always enjoyed taking photos. It was the advent of digital photography that caused her to become serious about moving beyond snapshots and automatic cameras. She bought her first digital camera in 2002 and joined the State College Photo Club in 2010. Numerous courses, workshops, competitions, and cameras since then have helped her fine-tune her skills, not to mention software upgrades, as the art of photography has become even more dependent on mastering editing techniques. Right, Tom? Travel photography is her strongest interest area, especially as retirement from a teaching career at Penn State has allowed more time to visit new places. Another strong interest is documentary photography, such as street scenes, sports, or community events. Landscapes and macro photography are also passions, and she experiments with creative abstracts from natural surroundings, as well as black and white conversions. Carolyn currently serves as chair for the photo travel division of the Photographic Society of America. In addition, she is a dedicated Penn State football fan who followed the team wherever they played for over 2 decades, visiting over 50 stadiums in the process. She lives in State College, Pennsylvania, with her husband, John Larson. And Donna Hong has a deep passion towards the art of photography. She learned more about the nature, the geography, the wildlife, the human activities, and the rich cultures around the world. While she was learning, many people helped her, so she loves to give back to those who pursue the art of photography. Donna joined PSA in 2022 and quickly achieved her MPSA and AFIOP. She serves on the Photographic Alliance of America, PAA board, where she has worked with Chinese applicants applying for FIOP recognition. She is active in local camera clubs and has judged a PSA exhibition based in San Francisco. In 2022, she was recognized as a top 10 photo travel photographer in Who's Who. Donna lives in Alameda, California, and served in public administration roles in local government, including budget director, deputy city administrator, and chief financial officer. She has a Master of Public Administration degree, as well as a PhD in business administration. While working full-time in these demanding jobs, she also taught master's level courses in public administration at the University of San Francisco and California State University Hayward. During those years, she also raised a family with her husband. She is now retired and is devoting her energies to her photography passion. Well, thank you, Carolyn and Donna, for being here. And I'm just going to turn it over to you guys to share your screen and to share with us the information that you want to regarding travel photography. She did make available to me a PDF of her presentation. So I will send it out in an email tomorrow so that you guys can have a record. So you don't have to sit there and take copious notes. You will have her information. So let me close this. This should be bigger. Why is it? Oh, here we go. Yep. And there we go.
Okay, well, thank you for inviting us. This is a great opportunity for us. It's the first time I've ever been invited to speak to another camera club about photo travel. So I've spoken to my own about it, but not to anybody else. So this is a brand new presentation that Donna and I worked on. And so we will ask you, I'll be sending out some questions tomorrow to ask how it went and what can be improved and so forth. I was very impressed with some of the photos that we saw. I think there's a lot of great photos, especially in photojournalism, that would do well in some of the competitions I know that I compete in. Donna, did you want to say anything to start?
I will monitor the questions in the chat room
Donna,
Okay.
can you get closer to your,
Yes, I'm monitoring, any questions in the chat room if there are any.
Okay. All right, great. All right, so Kathy tells me that a number of you do participate in PSA competitions. For those who don't, well, Photographic Society of America, I think you're familiar with that acronym. You may not be familiar with FIAP, which is an alliance that we have with European equivalent of PSA, which stands for Federation International of Artists Photographique. That's a terrible way of bastardizing French, basically. And I'll be talking about that later on. So I'm going to talk about photo travel as we define it at Photographic Society of America, and give you some examples of photos that will meet PSA competition standards, several of which have won awards. I'll also give you some examples that don't meet PSA competition standards. I'll give you an idea of what kind of learning opportunities there are at PSA, and any future changes. There's some future changes that I will talk about in photo travel towards the end. I think you might be already familiar with these divisions, but PSA has several divisions. The first is the projected image division. There are no limits on subject matter or techniques or post-processing, and 2 tracks, color and monochrome. So that's the most wide open division within PSA. There are some limits in terms of things like not using sky replacements that are not your own. But other than that, no limits. Nature, there are restrictions that apply on both subjects and editing. Photojournalism is very reality-based. Editing restrictions apply. So is photo travel. So we consider ourselves a reality-based division. And what we're trying to do is represent the real world as it exists today, as it's seen naturally. Pictorial print is another division, and again, no limits on subject matter or techniques of post-processing. And there are also print competitions in the PSA International. For example, there's a photo travel print competition that's separate from the digital competition. So if anybody's interested in print competition, there are opportunities there as well. And the 3D division is, a very specialized technique, and I really don't know much about it, but that's a whole other division. I should also ask you, if you have any questions, raise your hand, and Kathleen, stop me if somebody has a question.
will do?
Okay. So how does PSA define photo travel? Well, this is the overall statement. A photo travel image is a portrayal of the real world we live in as it is found naturally, and there are no geographic limitations. A photo travel picture can be taken, as this one was in Paris behind the Notre Dame Cathedral, or it can be taken down the street from where you live. So depending upon what the subject matter is, it can be anywhere in the world. This is a lot of words. The content guidance is what I'm really going to mostly talk about. There are also editing restrictions. I will give you a list of those, but I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time talking about those. So there are 7 key points in content guidance, and I'll go through these one at a time. So, because I know this is a very, very crowded slide, and you will have this, but this exists in every exhibition that has a photo travel section, they will include this definition, the content that guidance. So if I need to move this down a little bit. Okay, so I can read my own slides here. Oh, there we go. Okay. If the image is predominantly or exclusively a land, sea, or cityscape, these scapes must include characteristic and distinctive physical features. It's not necessary that the image identify the exact location. Okay. We did have the term recognizable in it, and we found that some judges were saying, I don't recognize this location, therefore, they marked it down, and that's not what the intent was. And so that word was taken out. I don't know if you still use recognizable or not. Any questions on so far? Okay.
Nope, I think we're good.
Okay.
Maybe check the chat.
Number 2 point in terms of content, the images that predominantly or exclusively depict people and their activities must illustrate a distinctive culture of a country, region, or continent. So here's an example from Bolivia, a street festival happening with lots of dancing in the streets. This is a good example of an image of people. You can have images of animals, but the animals need to be in their native environment. They can't be in a zoo, and they need to be characteristic of that country, region, or continent. So they need to be distinctive. Like penguins, we know are from Antarctica, for example. Portraits or other close-ups of people, in addition to the top 3, numbers 1 through 3, they need to include elements depicting the surrounding environment. We do not allow studio portraits in photo travel. Those portraits belong in PID, either PID monochrome or PID color or pictorial. And then this is this clause, images from events or activities arranged for photography or of subjects directed or hired for photography are not allowed. So they're called setups, and there is a whole industry, it seems, in certain parts of the world where people are paid to pose for pictures, and photography tours will bring people to these places. And the PSA website has examples. They have a whole slideshow on these setups and arranged photography that you can look through. And I will refer that, well, it's at the bottom of the screen, but I will also refer you to that at the end of this presentation and show you some more. Time exposures are allowed if they do not dominate the image as a special effect. If you notice this image of a bridge in Singapore, you will notice that it was a long exposure because the water is very smooth, but it does not dominate the image. A star trail or even light trails from like passing cars or whatever could become a dominating effect, and that would be a problem. And highly distorted images, such as those produced by fisheye lenses, are not allowed. Okay, so this one you can see is warped and would need, well, it would need a lot of correction with a fisheye lens. Any questions so far about those 7 points on content?
Nope, I think it's pretty clear.
Okay.
That those points that we're saying that not allowed, and if you can see that was not found naturally, like this school building, if you are there yourself, you see the building does not look like this. So travel pretty much is documentary or you it's reality based. And when you see the scene itself when you're there, it does not look like this. And same as those the car trail or snow trail, that's because when you're looking at it, it's not presented as it is to you. So that's why there's so many rules, and that's why it's not allowed. If you try to remember all those wordings, that's pretty hard. But if you remember the principle itself, the principle just have to be um, uh, found naturally and as it is.
So basically, it's as the eye saw it is the whole idea, or as you know, and thank you, Donna, for adding that. It really goes back to the whole question of does the image look natural, or is the scene natural? And that's where this gets the editing techniques are the same. Is you know the key is that the editing must be focused on correcting whatever flaws there are in your camera and bringing it back to what was actually seen. So restoring the image to what was seen. So you can straighten a building, you can cropping is allowed. You can take out dust and noise. And you can also do some global and selective adjustments. You can do complete conversion of color images to grayscale monochrome. You can't do partial. And then there's also some other things you can do. You can blend images such as focus stacking, and you can also image stitch to get like a panorama. That's all allowed, as long as the final image looks natural and represents what was actually seen. These are the editing techniques that are not allowed. Okay, question. Was there
No,
a question? Okay. You can't remove, add to, move, or change any part of an image except for cropping and straightening. So you can't remove pixels unless it does stop spots or something like that. You can't add a vignette, blurring parts of the image to hide elements in the original scene is not allowed. Now, if your camera was, if your camera had some natural blur in the camera because you had a you know, you were focusing on only one part of the scene, you know, that would be okay, but any additional blurring would not be okay. Darkening parts of the image during processing to hide elements in the original scene also is not allowed. And yeah, we've already mentioned you can convert to complete grayscale monochrome, but you cannot do anything like partial toning or desaturation or oversaturation of colors. And I'll give you some examples of these as we move on. Are we good?
yep,
Those are the PSA definition. But if you participate in PSA recognize or say patronize exhibitions, those entry conditions can be more restricted, cannot be less restricted. So I have seen some travel divisions restricted no monochrome. Monochrome they have to be in color. So be very careful about reading the entry conditions and along with a, PSA definition.
Okay, that's a good point, that the exhibitions can add additional requirements. You know, for their own preference. If they don't want monochrome in a travel image, they can say that. Yeah, thank you. Well, let's look at some examples that would meet exhibition standards. Give you some ideas. Landscapes or seascapes with strong characteristic features. Donna, this is one of your photos.
Yes.
And I believe it won a gold medal somewhere or
Oh,
something.
yes, yes, I got it of many of them.
Okay. So, you know, it's very distinctive, correct?
Professional part of Wave National.
Okay. And then we all know, or I would think where this is, but what makes this particularly special is she caught the sun at the perfect moment and she got all of this snow. So the time of year and this is a pretty special photograph of Yosemite. Did you want to say anything about this, Donna? I'm putting you on the spot, I know.
We also won the final PSA color.
Donna, can you
Yes.
speak up? It's difficult to hear you. It's kind of garbly.
Oh, can you hear me better now?
Oh, yeah, a little better.
Okay, yeah, this also won the PSA final year and silver medal.
Cool.
It's pretty hard to get the deep atmosphere. Every time when we see the snows coming, then we go in and probably 8 out of 10 times we don't get a good sleep.
Right. Yeah, this is like the perfect moment. Architecture is another strong area for photo travel. And you can do very well. I got several examples of this. This is outside of Tucson. I'm not sure which mosque this is, but so all the photos that were given to me were from different members of the executive committee of the photo travel division. You can also, photo travel allows both monochrome and color, so this is a good example of monochrome used effectively for architecture.
Now, on this one, there's like a whole heck of a lot of vignette. That doesn't matter?
Yeah, it does. Is it vignette or is it?
Yeah, it's pretty vignette-y to me. I mean, and then around the steeple, there's like a whole white area. Anyways, I know it's not judging time. I was just curious because if it did really well and it has all that vignette, did they not care because it was such a good image, or? Anyways, just my own curiosity.
I'm seeing the vignette in the top. I'm not seeing it in the bottom.
Yeah, it's not allowed, but if it's found as it is, that's so only the first probably alternate note.
Okay, and what's your question,
My
Aaron?
question is, you cannot add vignette to your prophecy, but can you use a vignette filter when you take the picture?
Can you use a vignette filter when you take the picture itself? Does that count? No, you can't. You don't.
This is not as fun.
Because you're
And,
not, that's not how it's seen.
Right, when,
Not natural.
when the judge have questions like this, the judge can request for the unedited file to
Okay.
further look into it.
Right.
Thank you for pointing that out. I'll get a different example next time. I wasn't looking carefully.
I make a good judge because I'm like that.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know how I missed that. Cityscapes, skylines, are another whole area, couple in here. This is Dubai. Florence. I have to ask him where he took that picture from. I've been to Florence 4 times and I didn't get that.
Maybe it's a drone. It could be a drone picture.
I can tell you exactly where you took it.
Oh, Tom,
There is a bell tower stands across from the cathedral that you can also go up.
okay, Tony said there's a bell tower that you can go up.
Oh, Giotti's Tower?
Yeah,
Yeah,
Okay, all
and
right,
so he probably took it from there.
yeah. Okay. Yeah, I don't think Tom uses drones.
No. It could be, wow.
Distinct structures and objects. This is the Bean in Chicago. Whenever I go to Chicago, I go to the Bean. It's just, it's so much fun. If you haven't been there, it's a great photographic opportunity. There's another one. This is a bridge in Mount Desert Island, Maine. And then street scenes. In this particular picture, I was in Dublin, Ireland, and I noticed these 2 guys having a beer, and I was across the street. This is actually an iPhone photo. And the guy looked at me just as I snapped the photo and gave me a thumbs up.
So for a street scene, it needs to be still a recognizable place. Like this, you know, the Irish bar, it says, and things like that. So that gives you a sense of place and that all the things say Dublin on them. So you need stuff like that in a street scene picture in order to make it a recognizable scene.
Well, we've taken
Location.
recognizable out of the definition,
Right, but I mean like, what?
but it needs to be
Touristic.
distinctive in some way.
Just-
You
yes.
don't need to recognize the location. I mean, or you might consider it as a region, like
Okay.
Europe or Asia, or, you
Right.
don't need to be that specific.
Right. Like if there was a bunch of guys with their pickup truck with American flags hanging off the back, that would
That would-
count because it's America.
Yeah, that would be distinctive. You would know that it was in that region. Donna, did you want to add anything?
But that has some cultural, if you see that the people in the truck and then have the American flag, and that has some cultural elements there too.
Right.
Right. This is another example of a street scene. This was in Siena, Italy. And a neighborhood parade celebrating a particular saint. Cultural rituals, celebrations, and festivals. This is Ramadan.
Wow.
I'm not exactly sure what country this is, but it's obviously a celebration of some sort. And you can do that in the United States. So this is 4th of July in my hometown of State College. And this is used as an example in the photo travel guide, because we often don't think about, when we see some of these photos from other countries, we think, oh, that's a really cool celebration, but we don't often think about going and taking photographs of American celebrations. And so I've tried to make that point that we need to include the United States in some of our examples. And people who portray a culture. And so, examples of people that you find, either in a ceremony like this or a street scene. Am I going too fast, too slow?
Is she doing okay? Yeah, I think you're good.
Okay. Now, there is an issue with photo travel. It's hard to portray a culture in Western dress. And,
Right, yeah.
And so a lot of times you'll see that the most of the cultural photos are from countries that have a dress that's distinctive besides Western dress.
Yes, unless you mean really Western dress, like cowboys.
Oh, yeah. And also you also can have historical
Yes, yeah.
reenactments, like or certain
Civil War reenactments and
yeah,
things
things
like that.
Okay. Now, some examples that do not meet exhibition standards. Again, studio or close-up portraits where the background doesn't show the surroundings or environment. Now, here's an example of people who are dressed in clothing that would indicate culture, but the background doesn't help identify that culture.
Mhm.
Generic landscapes. I mean, can you
Yes,
recognize?
hang on, we have a question.
Okay.
On pictures where there are people that are, like the local pictures you were just showing, is there, if the person actually looks at the camera, does that disqualify it, or just because they're looking at the camera, or would it be, I'm saying other contextual issues that with the pictures? I've had it where it was like a camera shot, but they saw me taking a picture of them. And one girl, they were both holding some cotton candy. One was putting it in their mouth, and the other one was.
Tom, they can't hear you.
Oh, they can't.
I mean, can you hear him?
Yeah, I can hear.
You can kind of hear him?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Never mind, go ahead. So if they're looking at the camera, even if it's a otherwise okay picture, is that okay? If they're looking at the camera?
Donna, I'll let you
Oh,
answer that.
Yeah, I would say that, the author knows that's not set up, and that's fine by definition. And, it's, there are people who probably, set up and do it, and only the author knows, and that comes down to the matter of ethics. But if, the person is looking at camera, it's not as, probably not, score as well as those people look more natural, but that's fine as long as that's the scene that you find it natural.
Oh, and Nan says that you can't give them instructions about where to look, because then
Right.
it's closed.
Yeah, you cannot
Yeah.
direct them, yes.
Right.
Right, but if you go back to this photo here, where is it? This one. This guy is looking at me. And I overheard somebody at the last photo festival when I showed this picture thinking it was a setup. And I was shocked because I never even thought that this would look like a setup, but because the guy was looking at me, somebody thought he was posing for me or that I had directed them somehow. So I think judges go a little too far sometimes in thinking this through. I mean, this is not a fake photo. And, you know, to me, it's we need to do a good job of training our judges and understanding that, you know, there's a catalog, there's a slideshow of fake photos. And unless a judge knows that a photo is fake, they should give the benefit of the doubt to the photographer.
Same to the other one that have a some kind of virtual celebration. If you go to that one,
This one?
no, another one that was it was a name of looking at the camera. Not this one. Yeah, so that most likely the judge would think this most likely is natural pictures, not directed. This person is not
Right.
directed with the look at the camera, and most judges, including myself, would the benefit of those.
Right.
Yeah, he did look at his camera. It looks like that's okay. It looks very natural.
Right. So as long as it doesn't look like a bunch of people all looking at your camera, you're probably okay.
But even
All
though
smiling at the
even though they do, maybe something happening behind you that they're looking at the direction and you are taking it from that direction and they were probably looking behind you and something just happened. And you know that was not set up, and I think that's better.
All right, let's get back to, but good question. Thank you for asking that. Does anybody recognize the speech on the left?
Nope.
Is there anything distinctive about it?
Nope.
Yeah, this was taken on St. Simon's Island in Georgia at sunrise. And so you know, generic landscapes that have no strong characteristic features, you know, would not do well in competition. I mean, they wouldn't necessarily be disqualified, but they would not do very well. And the same thing, this pond with you know, autumn fall colors could be anywhere in New England or Pennsylvania or anywhere else, and but not really particularly distinctive. This is another example. Non-allowed editing techniques, just a couple, partial monochrome. So you've got a picture of the statue, but you know, with the golden aspen in color and the rest black and white. That won't work. That you know, might be okay in PI. No, it would go into PID color. It wouldn't even go into monochrome. Oh, sky replacement. This is a photo where I replaced the sky with my own sky, but you can't do that in photo travel. I could submit this as long as it's my own sky in PID color.
Right.
Actually, this photo has done well in monochrome, so that's what I would do with that one. But here's an example of adding blur to the background to de-emphasize the back to make it make the woman more prominent. So just adding a slight blur, that's not allowed. Here's an example, of a mission down in San Antonio, taking away the cone. A judge would never see that you've done that, so it's really an ethical issue.
Yeah.
I always regret not changing the angle of that picture so that cone wouldn't be there, but I wouldn't remove it. Or maybe even, walking over and removing the cone for a minute and taking the
Yeah.
picture. Right. Adding a vignette, there is this clause that says it's a noticeable vignette, so that's a judgment call. Or oversaturation, two other things that are not allowed. So that's pretty much what the content guidance I have. I wanted to kind of give you some links, and when you get this PDF file, you should be able to just click on those links. If not, then I will figure out another way to get you the links. But there's a lot of resources at the Photographic Society of America. Most of them require that you have membership in order to access, but you can go and look at the Image of the Year winners. And so there's a link to that anybody can look at. And so that might give you some ideas about what's winning in photo travel these days. Are you all subscribing to the division newsletter?
Is anyone? I don't think anyone is.
Okay.
So.
If you need to be a member to subscribe to it, but it's got some fabulous, we have this fabulous editor, Lisa Sorenzioni, that does a quarterly newsletter and has PSA members write about their travel experiences. And there's a lot of guidance in that on editing photos, and also I know Naja Filiagi, who Donna is being trained by right now, writes a column on what's happening with exhibition standards and things like that. So I would highly recommend, if you're interested in photo travel and you're a member of PSA, to let us know, and we'll add you to that newsletter list. It's free, you don't have to pay for it. We also have study groups. Not only, excuse me, I gotta swallow some water. John, would you get me some water? Please. Sorry.
No.
Study groups, there are study groups, there are image discussion groups on photo travel, photojournalism, nature, PID. So you can really get a lot of good feedback from people about your photos, and you submit a photo once a month. Thank you. Excuse me. It's been a long day. You can also submit a photo for an image evaluation. And Tom Tauber, one of our board members, will give you a his view of how well that will do in a photo travel exhibition. There are also essays and mini essays you can look at. Okay. Excuse me.
Oh, feel
John,
free.
there seems to be a question in chat. You can-
Yes, we have a question.
Do you images need to be in raw file or JPG file in order for, it's that?
You submit a JPEG, but the editing just has to look natural. That's the main thing. No oversaturation, no big vignettes. You can't take anything out or put it in an extra sky. They just want the final result to look natural. And you can dodge and burn as long as it still looks natural. It just, you want to, because sometimes cameras darken shadows down too much, and that's not how you saw it. So you can bring the image back to where it looks like what you saw, just not over edited. Yes.
One thing that has not been discussed that I've heard is that the image must be all on your own. You're not trying to not create anything with AI in any image or have the same image with AI.
Yeah, Nan says that to make sure that there's nothing AI in your image. I mean, I feel like that would be a given with a travel image, but yeah, it still probably needs to be said.
Certain person standing here by the grid, they had.
So they just throw a person in there. Yeah, right. If you can't remove or add anything, I feel like that would be an obvious thing, but
Yeah.
yes, no AI anything in the image.
Well, the
Except maybe
problem-
AI
the prob-
noise reduction.
The problem is Photoshop is getting very, is providing all these AI enhanced things. Like I have a picture of the Sun River at sunset, and it's kind of boring because there's nothing to look at. And I just went in and added a kayaker, and it just looks fabulous now.
Yeah.
And you can't do that.
It's for your own pleasure. No competitions allowed. Yeah. Excuse me? Oh, this is she's just saying, hot off the press. It means that she's going to tell us some stuff that's hot off the press. It's not a travel image, right, Carolyn?
Actually, it is. I took this.
It is a travel image? Oh, never mind then.
I took it at Colonial Williamsburg.
Okay.
And he was just, I don't know, I guess he was posing, but I wasn't directing him. I haven't submitted it as a travel image because somebody will think it's posed. But as of January 1st, 2026, we're going to have 2 different photo travel star paths. This has been approved by the PSA board. We're going to have documentary photo travel, which is the current reality-based definition. And all existing acceptances for PSA will automatically transfer to this category, this star path. But there's also going to be a new star path called World in Focus. And that's where the existing FIAP definition will be used. And FIAP does allow setups and studio portraits.
Ah.
Or at least they don't have any prohibition against studio portraits. So right now we're working on implementation issues through December. And there's a lot to be done. So this won't change until January, and you'll be hearing a lot more about this. So I'm just going to show you the FIAP definition that was approved by FIAP. I'm not going to read it to you, but you will have that in your PDF file. But notice in
Whether it shows
where is it?
screen or it's in the second paragraph.
Second paragraph, yeah. Whether it is shown in an authentic scene or whether it is arranged. And then they do have editing restrictions. So we're working on that right now. Questions on that?
I don't think so. I don't know if any of our group is in FIAP. Except for Nan.
Well,
Nan's.
not
What?
photographic alliance. Yeah, it's the representative.
The PAA is part of FIAP. Okay.
Both know are, we belong to the club, and we can CFA belongs to, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So this gives more opportunity in some respects for different types of photo travel that are kind of disallowed in the current definition. And so I want to thank all of you for listening. I'm sorry, I've kind of lost my voice. To photographers who contributed photo, and for all of you who work with PSA and with the photo travel division. And thank you, Donna, and thank you, Kathy, for this invitation.
Oh, you're very welcome. It was very informative, and I think it will be helpful to everybody as you decide what images to pick for next month's competition. As well as if you want to enter, if you're a PSA member and you want to enter any of the travel opportunities. I know a lot of you do travel, and so why not enter those, you know? You gave a lot of great information. Thank you.
And
Yeah.
and I do want to just point out that, you know,
Whoops, hang on. Okay.
probably the most thing about traveling is preserving your memories, and that's probably even more important than competing. And so
Yeah.
enjoy whatever you're doing in travel. It's a lot of fun. So thank you.
I just want to add that, as presented in the last part, that Carolyn saying that in travel division, we're going to have a 2 paths. For those of you who are pursuing the distinction, that's really a big added to have more of the star path opportunity, so you can get your distinction probably faster.
Okay.
Yeah. So for example, if you are doing, say, a stars in the travel before, and now if you have the event ones, and you can put them there to get the world in focus, and you can get a lot more, stars instead of getting into the galaxy and diamonds.
Right. Thank you.
Okay. Well, I hope you all have a good evening, and I hope this was valuable to you. And again, I'll be sending out some questions to Kathleen to try to get some feedback as to the content, and appreciate. Is there anything else that we need to cover? Do we need to talk
Does
about?
anybody have any last questions? I think we're good.
Okay.
Carolyn, travel safely tomorrow.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, well, I'm looking forward to getting home and sleeping in my own
Me
bed.
too. Me too.
Okay, well, you go. Enjoy and
Okay.
keep up all that good photography.
Yes.
That's
Okay,
very,
well,
very impressive.
Okay, thank you.
okay, well, thank you so much.
Good job, Carolyn.
It was very appreciated, and we will get your questionnaire, and I'll send it out to people tomorrow, and I'll send out the PDF of everything that she talked about so that you can reference it in the future. Thanks again, Carolyn. I'm going to sign off.
All right. You
Let
take
me make sure that we didn't have any other questions in here. Nope, we're good.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Well, good night.
Good night.
Thank you.
Completely.